Welcome to Geopolitical Coliseum. We have another great match today, California versus Japan. Bob, what are your opening thoughts? Well, I'm really looking to see what California can bring to this against a world power in Japan. Let's get to the boards. Introduction. In this corner, California. Eureka. I have found it,
dude. I have found it. Yeah.
This slogan came about because of the discovery of gold and caused the state to become known as the Golden State. Weighing in with a population of 39.5 million people, California is the largest state in the United States. With a land area of 425,000 kilometers squared and an economy of $2.8 trillion a year. The land along the Pacific coast was colonized by the Spanish Empire in the 1700s. Spanish missionaries set up shops and named their spots after saints, like San Francisco, named for Francis of Assisi. This land eventually fell under the control of the independent nation of Mexico. Then, after the Mexico-American War of 1846, the United States took claim of California. By miraculous coincidence, around this same time, gold was discovered at Sutter's Mill in Northern California, drawing in thousands of new people to the area. Completion of the Transcontinental Railroad, built in part by the robber baron Leland Stanton, allowed people to flow into California at an even faster rate. Channeling water from the surrounding mountains, the Great Central Valley developed into one of the most productive agricultural centers in the world. Oranges, anybody?
Yeah.
In the 1960s, in near response to the Soviet Union's launch of the Sputnik satellite, centered around Stanford University, Northern California became the center for the development of computers and the internet. Today, this place is known as Silicon Valley, home to technology giants like Apple and Google. In this corner, Japan, land of the rising sun, weighing in with a population of 127 million people, with a land area of 375,000 kilometers squared, and an economy of $5.6 trillion a year. For several centuries, the islands that make up Japan were ruled by warring military clans and their armies of samurai warriors. At various times, strong military generals, known as shoguns, would unify these groups to various degrees. The Tokugawa shogunate imposed a strict class system on Japanese society and cut off almost all contact with the outside world. The American Perry Expedition in 1853 ended Japan's seclusion from the world and not so subtly introduced the Japanese to the modern industrial world. Watching as China was being dissected by European imperialists such as Britain and France, Japan decided it would be a good idea to industrialize and fast. In 1868, the Meiji Restoration took power away from the generals and re-established the emperor as the singular person in charge. Under new management, the emperor centralized power, establishing the capital in the largest piece of arable land in Japan, on the Kanto Plain, known today as Tokyo. And from this seat of power, launched Japan on a crash course through industrialization. They brought in Britain to help them build a modern navy, Germany to help them build a modern army, and the United States, fresh out of the research lab of the Civil War, to supply them with modern weapons. This transition is captured wonderfully by the Tom Cruise-led movie The Last Samurai. Japan did so well with industrialization, and the Western powers were all so busy killing each other in the First World War that Japan decided they would take a shot at conquering Asia and setting up their own European-style empire. They made a good effort of it, but eventually ran into, deliberately poked the United States in the face and woke up a giant that crushed them back down to size. They picked up the pieces, literally picking up empty steel cans to recycle into what would eventually become Honda cars and Asimo.
Yeah, Asimo, you walk them stairs.
Round 1. Population. California has 40 million people, and Japan has 127 million people. California is the most populous state in the United States. You could fit the population of California into Japan about 3 times. Biggest city. Tokyo has 39 million residents, 50% more people than any other city in the world. With an economy of $2.5 trillion, it's larger than any other city, and if it were a country, Tokyo would be the 8th largest economy in the world. The greater Los Angeles area has 18.7 million people. While Japan's population is much larger, the number is dropping, and they have a very top-heavy demographic, with a large portion of their population over the age of 60. California, by contrast, is growing by about 10% a year, even as it burns down. Advantage: California.